I'm not perfect and they don't have to be perfect. And I'm a little weird and they can be a little weird if they want to be.
Welcome to A Few Questions With, where I sit down and ask great musicians, performers, and educators a few questions. Today, I sat down with Dr. Jenna McBride-Harris of St. Olaf College. She knows a whole lot about playing as a section in an orchestra.
Jenna is most Jenna when she's playing second horn.
Jenna's horn studio at the college is large, passionate, and excited. In addition to playing in a ton of symphony orchestras, including the Cincinnati Pops, St. Paul Chamber Orchestra, the Minnesota Opera, and the Minnesota Orchestra, Jenna maintains an international career by traveling to Hungary in the summer. She does a lot of things outside the horn, including raise 2 cats, a bunch of chickens, gardening, baking, and other things. I was excited to talk to her to learn more about how she got so much passion in her studio. Who is responsible for creating community, and what's the best way to participate in a community and community building?
That's the thing I'm most proud of, is seeing the kind of people that my students are and seeing them grow and step into community building and supporting one another.
This came up a lot in the interview. Jenna made a point to talk about how authentically caring about students is a fantastic way to build community, but that it can't quite be forced.
Encouraging students to look out for one another, but in an organic way. You know, I've been in studios before, like as a student, where there was a forced intimacy by the professor, like, look around you, this is your family, this is your studio family. And I was like, I don't know these people from Adam. Like, I don't know that they're my family. I don't socialize with them. I don't hang out with them, you know, yet. And that for me felt like a real forced intimacy. And so I think it comes in a way. I mean, part of my personality is I am a community builder. I love hosting parties. I have several communities. I have a community here on campus. You know, I have my community of neighbors. That's a real strong value for me. So that's something I like to do. And so I have opened up my home to hosting. Like one of the first things I did was already happening. Like we have a pizza party and we just hang out and I bring my car on up and open the, you know, trunk and I'm blasting music, and that's not classical music. So they can see that I'm a person, you know, and coming up with like fun, weird icebreakers and I just like to lead from a place of authenticity and like vulnerability and quirkiness so they can see like I'm not perfect and they don't have to be perfect. And I'm a little weird and they can be a little weird if they want to be. I think modeling, hosting, sharing a meal, bringing in baked goods, asking your students about their interests and then like following up on that and then like linking them like, oh, you're interested in such and such. Did you know that so-and-so is like majoring in that? Or so-and-so just got back from a trip to Hungary. Like, why don't you talk to them about wanting to do this same trip? So that's a piece of it.
In addition to the social aspects of building community in the horn studio, Jenna talked about the practical aspects of horn playing and how that can help.
Is that it's all about service. You're serving the composer's intentions in the music. You're serving the conductor's interpretation, but most importantly, you're serving your colleagues. And you have to serve your colleagues by showing up prepared, by being professional, but then by understanding how what you do makes them sound better. And then everyone rises and everyone sounds better. And then it's just a joy.
Jenna doesn't stop there. In addition to lessons and giving lectures, she also plays with her students to make sure they can do what it is she's asking them to do.
And so I would like go and sit and play with them and show them like, this is actually how loud you need to be.
Yeah.
Like this is what an orchestral fortissimo sounds like in Tchaikovsky, you know, like, but we also like play together, like goof off together. And that has now extended into like, you know, they send me pictures of what they're doing on tour and they go ice skating together and they go shopping together and they're living life together. Some of them are in classes together outside of music, but they've developed this community where they're serious about getting better at the horn, but they're not competitive, and they're very serious about serving each other and having a good time. And I think that's really beautiful.
The takeaway that I got here is that community building isn't something that can be forced. You have to build the infrastructure that's existing and then hope people will be there, but not shove them into those spaces.
Can you talk just a bit more about, I remember, so we did together the world premiere of Meniscus Core, which was a piece for French horn and French horn with live electronics. But I was struck playing with you. It was almost like you were in my head, just playing what I wanted before I knew it as a duet partner, which was so cool. How do you just have the biggest ears in the world under that hair? How do you get how do you improve your service playing, if that's what we're going to call it?
Yeah, well, you're very kind to say that. You were very easy to play with. My favorite position of all time, like Jenna is most Jenna when she's playing second horn. Because I like feeling like what I'm doing makes someone else sound better, and then we sound better together, and it's awesome. And I don't know if it's because I have fuller lips or not, but like I have an easier time playing low. That feels more natural to me than playing high. And I've like really resisted the whole like thin lips, thick lips thing, but I don't know. I think there might be something there. Maybe not. But you know, when I was realizing as a 20 something that, oh, I have to work a lot harder to play principal. I can play principal. I mean, it's not like I can't play high, but like I feel more comfortable playing low. And so I was really invested in that. And the ears portion has a lot to do with it. Really understanding.
Here's the most important word of the whole interview.
Intonation. I was super out of tune as an undergraduate, and my horn teacher made me spend time with the tuner and singing drones to recalibrate my ear, because I was like almost a quarter step sharp, like in my inner ear.
Jenna's work in intonation has obviously paid off for her career and for her playing. In the interview, Jenna was able to share with me a compliment that she got from a friend, which showcases how one really good compliment can help define how you see yourself as a player.
I still think about it. He said, whenever you're in a section, it sounds better. And like that, like gave me, you know, like Inside Out 2 was like this core memory, or like this core truth about myself. That was a core truth that like I took to heart. Like, I can make a section sound better by being in it. And it's like, not because it's about me, but it's about like listening and like balancing and also being really sensitive. Like,
Jenna talked about some of the key steps that she goes through to make sure that she's playing effectively in a section.
Listen for, are we in tune? Are we in tone? Like, are our tones working well together? Are we in balance? But then like, I'm trying to like discern, like, what do you want to do? Like, you want to get louder? Okay, I'll get louder with you. And if I'm the lower voice, then I need to like anticipate that. So like there's that wave thing again. Like I'm like, ugh, and you're like surfing, you know, on top of it.
And it also helps that you're just a boss player.
Jenna is a boss player, and she's able to do a lot of things on horn that I've seen other people really struggle with. But when I told her this and talked about the piece we played together, she was quick to bring it back to community, which I thought was interesting.
That premiere went so well, Brian, is because we shared meals together and we shared libations together. And I was like, I like this guy. Like, what a cool dude, you know? And I think that there was also some like, I mean, that kind of ties into the community building we were talking about with my students. Like, I was like, I kind of like this guy. I think he might like me too. Like, we're gonna have fun doing this, you know? And I think that's huge too. Like, I don't always sound my best when I don't like or respect the person that I'm playing with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but like,
yes,
there was something so warm and joyful, but also, like you said, authoritative, like in your playing and your presentation. That's like, all right, this is going to be awesome.
I would have been happy to talk to Jenna about the French horn for hours, but I wanted to get back to her students and how she helps those students manage the difficult demands of college life.
how do musicians live their lives in multiple disciplinary areas?
Her answer was really simple.
It doesn't happen without some organization skills and some time management skills.
Time management is great, but what about the elephant in the room that is sometimes the difficulty of having a double major and trying to balance two professional fields?
We are stronger as a music department. And there's like a joy and a flourishing in the ensembles that happens because there are so many non-music majors.
What she said next blew my socks off because she frames being a double major as an advantage.
Our music making is better when we can take some of the things that you have to do as a musician, right? All of those details that we are synthesizing ahead of time, but then you're also pivoting in the moment in response to like instantaneous feedback. You know this and I know this, we're professional musicians, that there can be, I shouldn't speak for everyone, kind of a loss of joyful innocence about music when it becomes the way that we pay our bills. And when it becomes, like, this is my very serious craft and I'm very serious about, following through on this or that. Whereas someone who is a biology student and is in a lab for several hours, they cannot wait to like kind of turn like that part of their brain off and just play and just like make music at this high level. And I think for a lot of our non-majors who are, STEM majors, pre-med, or even our dance majors, what have you. Like we have a lot of Spanish majors here too, and mathematics majors. They understand that this is probably the apex of the musical experience that they're ever going to have. They're never again going to have weekly lessons. They're never again going to have like 1 to 2 ensembles meeting, maybe every day or 3 days a week, and have these like really amazing touring experiences and concert experiences. And they treasure that. And I think that's why it works well, because they're pouring themselves into it. And I think what's also important to understand is that like we are multidimensional, complex beings. And I have the times when I've been the most unhappy have been when I felt one-dimensional. I'm a horn player. Or two-dimensional. I'm a horn player and I teach the horn, right? I feel most myself, and I see this with my students too, like when I acknowledge like all of the different things that make me me. And so I actually really see what I do in lessons with my students and what we do in studio class as transferable skills. And like what we talk about in lessons, I'm couching it in terms of like, how could you apply this goal setting, this problem solving? How could you apply this to how you're approaching, your next final, or approaching this lab, or approaching language acquisition? There's a lot of like crossover with like language acquisition.
Being aware of clear expectations seems to be the main thing here, and Jenna sets expectations in her lesson with the help of the student and their goals.
So I might say, like, if you are really interested in engineering, but you want to see how far you can go on the horn, there's nothing to stop us in this lesson from me treating you like a performance major and holding you to a higher standard and pushing you. Check in with me if it's too much. But like, there's no reason why you can't get the engineering degree. You don't have to have a degree to win an audition.
What do you think is the most common struggle for freshmen, sophomore students at the university? Like, what do they run into, and how do you suggest that they overcome those challenges?
Time management skills, communication skills, and understanding what it really means to like meet expectations, or to ask for clarification about expectations. I think those are the 3 areas that I see the first years and sophomores, but mostly first years, really struggling with. That time management piece is huge, because that transition from high school and the way your day is structured to college or university is really, really a huge gap. And if a student isn't used to being organized with their time, or understanding, if they don't understand how they work, like, oh, I work best in the morning, or oh, I work best at night. The communication piece is one that really frustrates me. It's usually first years who like are slow to respond to emails or don't read the emails, where a student, you know, comes in and I say, okay, get ready to play such and such. Oh, were we supposed to do that? Well, yes, I emailed the class about that. Oh, I didn't read that email. It's like, then we have the conversation where it's like, you know, I don't love to get extraneous emails. So if you get an email from me, you should assume that it has important information that is relevant to you, like in the near future. And then they're like, oh, I didn't know I needed to read my emails and actually like read them all the way through. Like they actually didn't know that. And then the third piece, understanding expectations. Like, oh, you wanted me to do that? Like, oh, you actually wanted me to do that. And you're going to hold me accountable to that and ask me if I did that and make me play it for you. I think that has been jarring for some first year students.
What's the Jenna McBride-Harris calendar time management structure?
I cannot live without a paper calendar. But that's just me, right? Like if like I have a friend who loves his Google Calendar. I think this is my semester at a glance. It's color coordinated. I think having an at a glance, like big picture, this is my month, or this is my semester. Or I have a student who has a really he won a competition. He's playing with an orchestra in a few weeks. One of his assignments for our next lesson is he has to build a calendar. This is my time between now and this performance. And this is when I'm going to practice. And this is what the day before the performance is going to look like. Just like having that at a glance is really, really important if your goal is to improve as a hornist, right? And I'm saying this for myself too, because I need a reminder. You have to treat your horn practice time as important as a gig, or as important as a class period, or as important as you know, your job, like when you're there from like 9 to 5 or whatever. Like treat it as an immovable, like non-flexible entity. Because if you are like, oh, I'm just going to practice when I have time today, like speaking for myself, that time will get filled with doing dishes or making dinner, or I don't know, like watching all sorts of crab videos on like how to pickle vegetables, and then I won't be practicing because I just won't. So I think for me, having like really putting it in your calendar and committing to it and being consistent, and at the same time being flexible to understand, like if you put your practice time as 8 a.m., you know, every day or 6 days a week, but you're actually not a morning person and you are a night owl and you're staying up till 1 a.m., like that is not, you need to like make an adjustment. It's understanding yourself and like when you learn best.
In line with this answer, Jenna was true to form and brought things back to community.
Maybe you get together on Tuesdays and you go to a coffee shop or whatever, and you like sit down and you do your calendars, and then you just like 10 minutes, like, this is what I think is going to happen. They're like, you know, you're not really giving yourself time to drive cross town and do this other activity. Or there's no date night on there with your significant other. Like you're also a person, you know. I think that can be fun too.
Jenna, you are a hero. I love your work and I love your playing and I love your teaching and I love your students from afar. Thanks so much for hanging out with me.
They love you. You're their favorite person. They talk about you all the time. And your coconut like phobia.
I don't like coconuts. I want to cancel coconuts, but I'm going to have a plant specialist on to support my anti-coconut tirade. Hooray!
Thank you for everything. Bye.